Hello and welcome to this video. Now, so far we've been dealing with Excel tables and data that we already have on our worksheet. But what if you want to maintain a connection between an external file and your Excel workbook? There is a tool that is built into a newer versions of Excel that allows you to do this. That is the Power Query Editor. The Power Query Editor allows you to connect to external files and do some transformations, some data cleaning, and you have access to that cleaned version to use for any analysis that you want to do in your Excel workbook. So for you to connect to it, you need to come to the data tab here, and then, okay, first of all, this is a blank workbook, but if you click on show queries, you see that there is no query here. So we want to connect to an external, want to get data from an external file. So to do that, I want to start a new query, and that new query, see, I can connect to a workbook, CSV file, text file, connect to a folder, I can connect to databases, I can connect to Azure sources, I can connect to other sources, the web, and a couple of other ones, Facebook data. I can start a blank query, and then I can also merge and append queries here. So let me just show you how to connect to a workbook. So I'm going to open a workbook here, and then when I click on import, this is going to pull in that data into my file. So if I come here, there's only one sheet on that workbook, so that's why we see one sheet here. This is the workbook, this is the sheet. So I will select just this sheet. If we had more than one sheet in that workbook, I'll be able to select the multiple sheets. So I select that, and then I click on edit. If you click on load, it's going to load it into your workbook. If you click on load to, it's going to either load it into the data model or your workbook. But I want to click on edit because I want to do some transformation on this. So when I click on edit, this is to open this window, which we call the Power Query Editor. Now, a few information about this Power Query Editor: it allows us to do a lot of transformations on our data, and then it also records whatever transformation we do. So if we ever refresh this data, let's say this, okay, first of all, this is the data that we are using. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like here. So now this is just sales information for a certain organization. So if this data is ever refreshed, let's say there is new sales info added after we do this our transformation, the recording of the transformations on the Power Query Editor makes it available for us to always make use of. So now you see here where we have the apply step. These are transformations that have been done for us by the Power Query Editor. So now in this aspect, we're going to just focus on a few things, which is basically data cleaning. So now if you look across this data, let's try and understand the data sets that we have. We have a row ID, we have order ID, which is a unique identifier for every order. We have a date, and see the way our date is stored. We need to change that to a date data type. If we change that to a date data type, it shows us the exact date you see here. In Excel, a date is stored in the way it is represented as a number. This is what is represented as if you have been using Excel from the old days. But so this whole number actually represents a certain date, counting from a certain date up until now. So when we change the data type to the date, because we want to see dates here, we don't just want to see the numbers. So when I clicked on that, you notice that something happened here. It did a change type. The same thing I'll do with shift date. I'll come and change it to a date, and then I will see date here. So that is more useful. I can see that the other date was on this date, shift date was on this date. So now a couple of more transformations we will do. I will come here. My shift mode looks okay. Another thing you should take note of is the fact that for every single column you have in Power Query Editor, you need to define the data type. Now, and make sure the data type is correct. For example, this was in whole numbers before, and that's why we had 4 3s and all that. But now I changed it to a data type date. To do that, I came up here selecting that column and came here and I selected date, and it changed the data type to, it changed the way the data was represented to a date format for me, which is more useful than the whole numbers I had earlier. So that's something to take note of. If we look here, we have a customer ID, which is a unique identifier for every single customer. And then we have a first name and a last name. I think I want the first name and the last name to be in one place. I don't want to have them separately. So in this case, I'm going to try and create a merge. Now, this is us doing data cleaning, data wrangling. So now I want to merge these two columns. So there's a transformation that you can use to do that here. If you come to the transform tab and you see where you have merge columns, if I select this and I hold control and select the other, you see that it is no more grayed out. If I click on merge columns, you see that there's a step added here, merge columns. A dialog box has popped up. What separator do you want? I just want a space between the two of them. And what do I want the name of that column to be? I'll just call it customer name. Customer name. So once I do that, I click on OK, you see that these two will be merged into one column. So if I click that, you see that I have customer name, and instead of having, if I go back, instead of having the two separate, I have them in one column as customer name. So that is also a good transformation to take note of. And let me keep inspecting. We have the segment of the customers, we have the countries. Okay, look here, we have location. Our location gives us, I believe this is the city and the state. So the city of Los Angeles in California. So now I want to have this separate. I don't want to have the city and state in one place, because I might want to view my data per city. So in a certain state, what cities are the most profitable? In a certain and in the country, what states are the most profitable? So I want to separate this. So to do that, I will have to split this, just like here we merge them together, but here we're going to split them apart. So I come on that column and I right click, and then I go to split column. Also, you can also do that from the transform tab here. We have the split column here. Just highlight what you want and then come here and split column. You can split by delimiters or by the number of characters. So for this, I'm going to split by the delimiter, which splits the values in a selected column based on the specified delimiter. If we look here, the separator between the city and state is a comma. So I'm going to leave it as a comma, and I want it to split at the leftmost. That is the first occurrence of this here. So when I do that, click on OK, you see that it splits it into two columns. We have the states, the cities, and the states. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename that. And once I rename that, so I have the city here. And then once I add the name of the state here, I have the state also here. So then another thing to take note of, I see that this is all okay. I keep inspecting the columns to see what I need to change here. If I come to the postal code, okay, the postal code looks nice, but there's one thing I'm noticing. I'm seeing that the postal codes are whole numbers. Now the postal codes, even though all the postal codes are numbers, I do not expect it to be a whole number, because it's just supposed to be an identifier. And that's because there is no arithmetic operation that we're going to be doing on postal code. So we're never going to add this postal code to this postal code, or this postal code to this postal code. It's never going to happen. So these are just going to be identifiers. So the postal code, the data type for this should be text, not a whole number. So I change that to text, and then you see we have the data type as text. Then I keep inspecting, I have the region. So I've done the region, and then we have product ID. Then we look at category and subcategory here. Product ID is okay, is the text, and it's good. Category and subcategory. I think I want to split this also. So just like I split the city and state, I'll apply the same step here. So I right click, come split by delimiter. I think the delimiter is a dash here, a hyphen. So I will just come by custom, and then I'll put the hyphen there. I want it at the leftmost, and then when I click on OK, you see that it splits a category and subcategory for me. So I have categories here, subcategories here. And that's because I might want to view, okay, in a certain category, what is the highest selling subcategory, or what is the most profitable subcategory. So I go ahead and rename them appropriately. So I have category there. I'm going to rename this subcategory. Instead of having them together, just like we had first name and last name, we split them up. So now this is beginning to take shape. So everything seems good. Our product name is text is good. Our sales, our decimal numbers fine. Quantity numbers, discounts numbers, and our profit is a number. So everything has taken shape. We have succeeded in cleaning this data, and then we can decide to get rid of columns we do not need. So this row ID is just a serial number. I don't need it here. So to get rid of it, you can just click on it and then right click on it and click on remove. You can also see that here. You can also see that here where you can remove remove columns or remove other columns. So I will just click on remove columns because I want to get rid of this. And then you notice that everything here is recorded. So every apply step we do, you see that we have it here, like the removed column that we just got rid of, the row ID column. That's this one that we just got rid of. You see that we have it here. And that's to tell you that everything here is recorded. And now the reason why this is very important is the fact that if this data set is refreshed from the source, so wherever we got our data from, if it ever gets refreshed, when we refresh it, every transformation we have done here will still apply. So even when there is new records, there are new records for others, because these are sales transactions for others, you see that it will keep applying them, and any shape of the data we have, any transformation we have done on this data will still be valid here. So it's a very useful tool that will be good for you to add to your analysis knowledge with Excel. So before we are done here, let me just do a few more transformations that could be useful. Let's look at some transformations that work with your dates. You see, I have merged columns, I have split columns, I have renamed columns, I have changed their types, I have gotten rid of columns we do not like. So now let me just show you a few transformations that you can do with the dates. So now you see here we have the other dates here, and we have the different orders for these different products all here. So now what if I want to be able to look at my transactions and see that, okay, from Monday to Sunday, what day is my highest selling day? So are my sales more, if I sum up all my sales for the whole period, or from whenever I started making my sales up until now, or looking at it any year or any month, what day of the week is my highest selling month? Now, a lot of sales companies tend to look out for this because it will help them to be able to structure their marketing campaigns effectively, to be able to get more customers to buy on those days that they make more sales, or increase their marketing efforts for the days that they don't make a lot of sales, or reduce the marketing efforts for the days that do not make a lot of sales, so that since they know that on those days people are less likely to buy than on the days that people are more likely to buy. So, and if we check most of these sites, you see that a lot of people tend to make purchases on the weekend, and that's because they are off work. So they tend to go to the stores, they tend to visit the online shops and all that. So now if I want to do that kind of analysis here for this other data, I'll have to do some transformation to be able to see what day of the week this is. So to do that, you come to the transform tab. I'm highlighting here, and I will come up here, select the column, and then you see where you have different transformations. I can put age, date only, year, month. So if I want to view this data by the day, so if I click on day, If I click on day of the week, or let me just use day, see what it does here. It transforms it and gives me what day this is. Is this day that's the day of the month? Is it 28th day? Is it 30th day? Is it, depending on the day of the month that it is? Or you can come here, let's go back here and say let's say we want to extract the day of the year. What day of the year this is? So this is the 313th day of that year. So, but if you notice something, as we were doing this, our date column changed. So we didn't have the date anymore. And this is not very useful because that might be me getting rid of the only date reference I have. So instead of using doing this transformation here, let me get rid of this, and then I will come here, and instead of using this, that's highlighting this here and using this transformation here, I'll come to the add column. Now the thing with the add column is that any transformation that you could have done here that will just change the column, when you use the add column, that transformation will be effected on a new column for you. So here, let me just put the day of the week. Now look at what we have here, the day of the week here. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, and so on. So, and if you notice, it starts from 0 here. So be able to see that 0 is let me check this. So 0 will be the first of the week, which is Sunday. That will be 0. Then Monday 1, and so on and so forth. So if you want to see what month, and another thing that you could do with this is that when you're done extracting the dates, you can also do more. I will see. Let's do month. So you see, this is the 11th month. Check the dates. See that we're on the 11th month here. So this is very, very useful for us if you want to view what days of the week you had your most sales. So let me change this back to the days so that I will show you how that comes to play in our, when we load this data into our Excel. So I'll go back to that date here, and then let me put it day of the week. So day of the week. Okay, so that is useful now. So let's go ahead. When you're done with all these transformations, you can either close and load to a table, or you can close and load. So earlier I had already closed and load this to a table. You can always close and load to the data model, where you just have a connection to it, and no table will be loaded. So but I've already loaded it to a table so that we can see it on my Excel sheet. So I just do close and load. But when you are doing yours, you probably see close and load. You probably choose close and load to, and then you select the table. So I have everything all here, and if you look at this move to the extreme, you see that I have these days of the week, here. So if I decide to create a pivot table from this, and let me go to pivot table. If I decide to insert a pivot table from this, do pivot chart and a pivot table from this, I select the table range. Of course, this our table is the table range. Put it on a new worksheet, and then I have my pivot table and my pivot chart. And then remember, we did day of the week, right? So let's look at what day of the week. We drag it to our rows, and let us see where our sales are happening most. So we have our highest sales. Let me sort this and more sort options, ascending or descending order, sum of sales. Okay, so our highest sales happens on Monday. Oh, this is Tuesday because we have day 0. So this is Tuesday, or better still, let me leave it as day of the week so that we don't get confused. Okay, so let me apply a conditional format in here so that we might be able to see it more clearly. Let me put data bars. Let me data bars. Then I open this. All shares showing sum of values. Or let me change that to all sales. All right. So now look at what we have here. So obviously, looking at this, you will see that, okay, the highest selling days are on the 5th day. This is going to be, since this is Sunday, and this is Saturday, this is Friday. Highest selling days are Fridays and Mondays that we have here. It's actually Mondays that are the highest selling days in this data set. For reasons I don't know why you will expect that Fridays and Saturdays will be highest selling days, but that doesn't seem to be the case for this data set. So this might be something that your client might be interested in. And also, if you look at your table, let me see, we still have that our order dates, in there. So if you were going to, let me move my order date into this and get rid of this. So you see that we have this, and there's a hierarchy there because we have the years and the days. So if I break this out, you see it keeps breaking, and I can see the months and the years and all that. If I wanted to look at it that way. So that's something for you to take note of working with Power Query Editor. And now any transformation I do, now I have 9994 rows. If I go to the data set and I add one more row, let me add one more row to this so that we have 9995 rows. So just watch what's going to happen here. One row will be added to this. Let me go to the data set and add one more row. So I've gone ahead to add one more cell to the source data. So the Excel file that you connected this to, the way you put in data from, you go in and you add one more row rather to the data. So I've done that. So there in that source that I now have 995 rows there. So if I refresh this, you're going to see that it's going to load that data. Do all the transformations. I see now I have 995 rows loaded. If I scroll down to the last, this is what I added. So you see here, this was the last one before, and you see that it's just a duplicate. I just copied what was here and added it down here, and now I have 995. So that tells you that every transformation that I wanted to do, splitting of the cost, fusing the cost, merging the customer name, it happened. Extracting the day of the year from this, of the week from this, it also happened. I also did a couple of things, the categories and subcategories, splitting the city and state, it also happened. And then the category and subcategory, splitting that also happened, even though I just imputed, added new data to this source. So that's the idea behind the Power Query Editor.